second, it should say live.
Okay.
You want it? Yep, there it is. And so now it's recording, and then I'll send out the link to you all afterwards, just because, I don't know, it's kind of nice to have it. But then I'm also going to post all of the links and then who spoke during that time in speaking order, so that when you go to review your peers' speech, but that's pretty cool. So, any last questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute, and we have Ashley going first, and Aubrey's keeping time. Ashley, do you all want to decide if you want some sort of time signal?
Like when my time is up, or
when you have like a minute left or 2 minutes left, do you want like a 1 if you have a minute left, or are you fine without any signals?
You can just like hold up a finger, but just as a reminder, what was the max time limit?
So it's 5 to 6 minutes.
What if it's like a little bit longer than that?
There'll be some point deduction, but it just depends how longer. Like if it's a couple seconds longer, not a really big deal.
Okay.
But if it's like a minute longer, then that's like more of a big deal.
Okay.
So, awesome. So Aubrey, do you want to go ahead and do that maybe when we hit 5 minutes, like give a 1 to say that there's a minute remaining, and that way you know.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And does that signal work for everyone else? Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and mute, and then go ahead and introduce yourself, Ashley, and then you can get started whenever you want.
Okay. So my name is Ashley Meyer. I am a 5th year here at OU. This isn't the only online class I'm taking. I'm taking a couple others. And right now my dogs are sleeping, and I'm praying that they stay sleeping for the next 5-6 minutes. So I'm really sorry if they wake up. Okay, let me get started. So, have you ever wondered why brides stand to the left of the groom, or how bridesmaids and groomsmen became part of the wedding? There's an origin and meaning behind every one of our present-day American wedding traditions, some that can even be traced back to the 1500s. Over the course of many centuries, trends, cultures, and traditions have all transformed to create our present-day wedding ceremonies. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue is a phrase that everyone has heard. Almost everyone has been to at least one wedding, whether it was a family member or a friend, or maybe you were in the wedding yourself. When I was 18, I was chosen as a witness to sign my name on my aunt and uncle's marriage license. Ever since then, I've had a passion for wedding planning and have always been intrigued by the history of our weddings. Especially now that I'm the maid of honor for my best friend's wedding next month, I've been giving her all the options for different traditional activities. Over the years, I've researched the cause of many wedding traditions, so naturally I'm knowledgeable on the topic. Wedding ceremonies are currently utilized as a public display of marriage vows and of the couple's commitment and love for one another. But many centuries ago, it wasn't always about love. Acknowledging the historic foundations of wedding ceremonies can give you an appreciation for our current wedding culture because in the beginning it wasn't always about love. Sorry, that's otherwise. In the early 1500s, an arranged marriage was a formal business contract between families, and brides were used as currency. The traditional purpose of these arrangements could have been for political, military, or social reasons. This was almost always hard for the women because they were sent away to live in a foreign land with a man they didn't know. Thankfully, in 1882, the Married Women's Act made so that women weren't their father's property anymore, and so that they weren't the currency used by their fathers or their husband. So the fathers giving the bride away then transitioned to a symbol of authority transferred from themselves to the husband of the bride, which rolls into the reason for bridal showers. After the act was passed and the fathers could no longer choose their daughter's groom-to-be, they would often disapprove of their daughter's man of choice. But because of the disapproval, the father would often not give the bride the dowry. So therefore, the bride's friends would throw showers and shower her with gifts, which creates now the present-day term bridal shower, so that she would use those as her dowry. The bachelor dinner or stag party was a celebration in the groom's honor on the eve of his wedding. This event actually originated within Spartan militaries where they would feast and toast to the groom's last day of freedom. Modern-day bachelor parties are still known as rowdy and over the top, but they don't have to be on the eve of the wedding. They can be days before, like a weekend trip. Picture the Hangover movie. It wasn't until the 1960s when women similarly created bachelorette parties to represent the bride's last night out. They started as formal and sophisticated, but the last 2 decades, women have stepped up their game with more pizzazz and dressing up by getting wasted at bars or clubs. The choosing of the wedding party or bridal party stems from the 5th century Britain's Anglo-Saxon tradition of bride napping. The groom chose his bride's nights to make sure she got to the wedding and then back to his house after the ceremony without being attacked by family members or other rival suitors. Close friends of the groom would help him kidnap her from his family and fight off the members as they rode off. In the early 19th century, when weddings became more planned and elaborate, the friends of the bride and groom would be part of the wedding ceremony. Going back to the bride napping, the man that showed his best skill would then be the best man. Many years later came the bridesmaids, and additionally, both the bridesmaids and the groomsmen wore similar attire to the bride and groom to confuse evil spirits and to confuse the jealous suitors that would also try to get to the bride or groom. Earlier I mentioned the phrase something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, which sounds self-explanatory, but the underlying meaning isn't all clear. This lucky saying dates back to the Victorian times, like the 1800s, and came from Britain's Queen Victoria herself. Something old represents a link with the bride's family and her past. Most women use a family member's antique jewelry item, piece, or part of their wedding dress. Something new represents good fortune and success in the bride's new line. The wedding dress is often chosen for this, but it could also be shoes or an accessory item. Something borrowed is to remind the bride that friends and family will be around when help is needed. This may be an accessory item or a hairpiece of friends or family. Something blue is a symbol of faithfulness and loyalty. This is usually a hairpiece or a stitching on the inside of the dress. Lastly, there is a 5th part to the saying that was removed, stating "in a silver sixpence in her shoe." A sixpence was a coin used by Britain that was about 3.5 cents in US dollars. It was removed in 1980, which is why that part of the saying was then removed. So let's be honest here. Your groom will think you're beautiful no matter what you wear on your wedding day. So when the bride walks up to the end of the aisle, she stands to the left of the groom. Why is that? Remember when I explained the bride napping? As the bride runs off with the groom, he takes her in his left hand so that he can carry his sword in his right hand to fight off those rival suitors. So that when she gets to the top of the aisle, she stands on the left of him, and then when they can face each other for the ring transfer. Romans used to say that the vein vena amoris ran from the left ring finger all the way to the heart. Well, actually, that vein doesn't even exist. There is no vein that runs from your hands directly to your heart. In the 1600s, the body's circulatory system was discovered, which put that myth to shame. The Romans also use kissing as a legal bond to seal contracts, which does still hold belief to this day. So after the deal is sealed, the ceremony is concluded and the post-ceremony events begin. Wine or champagne have been used throughout time for celebration, has always had the same meaning: to give your best wishes and good luck to the newlyweds for many years to come. In ancient Greek times, though, the host would drink from his glass to make sure that it wasn't poisoned, or maybe he would slip something in it to make sure that the other guests didn't ruin this future wedding reception. So after the toast is given, the wedding cake would be given out. But it wasn't always wedding cake that was ate at the wedding reception. The bakers and family members and friends would also give baked goods and set them between the bride and the groom and create this huge pile, and then so the bride and the groom would have to kiss over it, and if they managed, then it would give them their future life full of prosperity. So that is the origin of our tiered wedding cakes, is because one day a baker just decided to go ahead and stack cakes on top of one another to place between the bride. So the origin of our present-day tiered wedding cakes came from a medieval kissing game. In addition to the kissing game, we currently partake in the bouquet and garter toss. Originally, the bridal bouquet was made of flowers and herbs, and each flower and each herb had a significant meaning for the couple's future life. For example, garlic had the power to cast off evil spirits, and sage was the herb of wisdom. When the bride would walk off, the bridesmaids and other women would try to rip off pieces of her dress to obtain good luck from her. So, of course, she would run off throwing her bouquet at them, trying to get them to stay away. Similarly, yet more creepy, with the garter toss, the man, when the newlyweds would have to consummate their marriage, one of the bridesmaids would come into the room and try and steal the garter to prove that the deed was done. So eventually the men decided that it was rude to barge in during this time, and so they would take the garter and they would just throw it at the door. So then it became that the garter toss would just be thrown at the guys. In the 1200s, after the wedding ceremony, now called reception, the bride and the groom would drink honey wine for one full moon cycle, so this is literally known as the honeymoon. There is also a second origin of the honeymoon, one that defines the practice and not the word itself. Again, the grooms would kidnap their brides and hide them away for months until their family stopped looking for them or until they became pregnant. This generally lasted about 30 days, which was the length of a lunar month. After that, they would carry on with their life. So over the course of many centuries, trends, cultures, and traditions have all changed to form our present-day wedding ceremonies. Every tradition of our modern-day wedding culture, including the events that take place before and afterwards, can be traced back to its ancient and historic roots. Some are funny, some are creepy, some are surprising. Wedding ceremonies serve as several purposes and are a cherished moment in a couple's history. They are often utilized as a public display of marriage vows and the couple's commitment and love for one another. So when you attend your next wedding, when you have plenty of conversation starters, just don't share too much that could scare grandma off. That's all I have. Can I ask what my time was at?
Awesome, Ashley. What was her time, Aubrey?
What was it?
9 minutes and 37 seconds.
Oh.
Okay. It's okay. You did a great job. Time is always something you can work on as the speeches go on, so don't worry.
Okay. Great.
You're done. You should feel good. Feel good about what you did.
Oh, I do. I just totally forgot to look at the time limit. And so when you said 6 minutes, I'm like, oh no.
Okay. You're next, John.
Cool.
So go ahead, introduce yourself. I'll put myself back on mute. And we have Aubrey timing for you again.
All right. Well, my name is John Dolovecki, and there's a 100% chance that mine will be shorter than Ashley's. Let's see here. So many people think that there's a limit, and the limit of running is related to a marathon distance. But there are many runners that will show you differently. Ultra running is any distance that is longer than a marathon, or 26.2 miles. Most people, when they're thinking of races, typically think of your local 5K, your local 10K, maybe a half or a marathon. Ultra marathon distances come in a wide range. Come from 50K, which is 31 miles, maybe 50 miles, 100 miles, and there are even plenty of events that are longer than that. There's actually a couple very long adventure-style races, and these races can be 24 hours, or some that are even, this one in New York City where you run around a quarter-mile block for 60 days and end up doing something like 2,700 miles. And these people average 60 to 70 miles a day, and it is just absurd to me. Long-distance running has roots that go far back in our history to, for example, the Apache Indians running across the lands that we now call Arizona and New Mexico. It was very common for them to run 30 or 40 miles in a day to traverse the land. Modern-day ultra running didn't really become a thing until about the 1974s. Going back there's what they call the original, which is the Western States Endurance Run. It's a 100-mile race from Squaw Valley to California to Auburn, California. And this crazy race goes through the Sierra Nevada mountains. Originally started as a horse race in 1955, and then a guy by the name of Gordy Ansley decided in 1974 to try it on foot. and finished in the under the 24-hour cutoff limit in about 23 hours and 42 minutes. Gordy was quoted saying, "I decided to take one more step and just take another step until I couldn't take one more step." So after that, everyone else thought it was a great idea to start trying to do this as well. In 1977, 14 individuals started the first Western States endurance run, and the growth of running has just been exponential since then. In recent years, in 2004, there was just under 400 ultra-distance races. Just a decade later, in 2014, there were well over 1,200. That's a 300% increase. Another study focused on 100-kilometer distances and looked at the number of finishers from 1998 to 2010. With over 100,000 total racers from 1998 to 2010, about 3,000 finishers were in 1998, and just over 17,000 were finished the 100-kilometer distance in 2010. It's also interesting to look at a demographic kind of split, or geographical split as well with ultra running. When looking at a lot of runners, the large majority are European, with 73.5% coming from Europe and only 5.9% originating from North America. I hope that you can now look back at your own running history and maybe rethink your own limits. I want to end with a quote from one of my favorite running books, Born to Run. In Born to Run, Christopher McDougall says, "If you don't have answers to your problems after a 4-hour run, you ain't getting them." So that's mine. A little short, but...
Okay, great. What was the time on that one, Aubrey?
3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay. All right. And then we'll move on to Mackenzie. And yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then you can get started, and then we'll have Aubrey time for you again, and then Aubrey will be done timing after that. So whenever you're ready, Mackenzie.
Okay, so hi, I'm Mackenzie, obviously. Communications major, marketing minor. I don't really know what else to say. I like soccer. So just jumping right in, question. What would you do with $147 billion? Maybe buy a baseball team, a small island, underwrite a blockbuster film. How would you feel about spending $147 billion on medical bills? Not because of a fatal car accident or lung cancer, but because your body is overweight, extremely overweight, or obese. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, $147 billion is the total estimated annual medical cost of obesity in the United States. So the percentage of population suffering from obesity has actually increased over 15% since 1985, and it is still continually rising. Credibility, I was previously a dietetics major and a hopeful personal training certificate. I will hopefully be getting one in the future. So I'm really passionate and well educated about health and nutrition. And because of that, I kind of acknowledge that there's a really large health issue right in our backyard. And I really felt the need to investigate that recent spike in weight gain. I believe by having a better understanding of the increasing obesity epidemic, Americans will be better suited to fight our growing weight problems. So just a preview, today I'm going to analyze what it means to be obese, why obesity is becoming a modern day issue, and also explain some of the ways that the world is working to prevent obesity from increasing another 15% by the year 2020. So first and foremost, what is obesity? Who's affected? As defined by Ability magazine, obesity is the result of an energy imbalance over an extended period of time. So in normal words, the body is taking in more calories than it can actually burn off. And that has the ability to do things like induce heart disease, high blood pressure, increase your chance of stroke, type 2 diabetes, and also things like depression and anxiety. So obesity is not just about being overweight. It has all these underlying issues. It's much more than an unfit lifestyle. It's almost an act of self-destruction, but not everybody has a choice. Most of the time, it's actually caused by genetics. That's the most common cause. It can also be caused by drug abuse, disease, or obviously an unhealthy lifestyle. But regardless of its origin, the American Heart Association informs us that over 1/3 of U.S. adults suffer from obesity.
And according to the article F is for Fatter in the New York Times, there are substantially more overweight individuals in the United States than there was 20 years ago, obviously, if it keeps increasing at this rate. So what is causing the spike? What is different about our generation than it has been in past generations? Why us? An article from the Times Tribune believes that technology is to blame, and I personally agree. Is that an increase in sedentary activities such as video games, phone apps, computers, TV, are to blame for lack of exercise, which is a key contributing factor to obesity. As generations become more and more reliant on technology for not just entertainment but everyday tasks and professions, this being a prime example, the culture are spending so much more time sitting in front of screens than we are being active and outside. I know, me personally, I still do babysit kids all the time, and I noticed a change from us saying, let's play games, let's play outside, to them saying, can I see your iPhone? What apps do you have? Got any games? So preventative steps. Technology obviously isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So what steps are being taken towards a healthier lifestyle if technology is one of the key contributing factors and it's going to stay so relevant? Companies are now trying to use these newfound technologies to get people active instead of being lethargic. Prime examples being Fitbit, Choose My Plate, which is a really cool app. Assortment of health and fitness apps, obviously, and then even the new iPhones are all now programmed with a health app, which was not the case, even 2 years ago. Being active every day is essential to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and it remains one of the best ways to prevent obesity. So the fact that these technologies are encouraging active behavior is really promising. And then obviously there are influential people like Michelle Obama who are taking steps towards healthier school lunches, encouraging kids to play outside. I remember TV programs, even when I was watching them, would end for a few hours in the afternoon with a screen that was telling kids to go outside and play. I used to hate that screen. But by taking advantage of these new technologies, we can really stay up to date with modern day cultures while also using tools to reap benefits instead of their negative outcomes. All in all, the better we understand obesity, the better we're equipped to decrease the growing statistics. Obesity not only negatively affects people physically, but also emotionally. We need to keep in mind that it's not just being overweight. It increases the risk of multiple heart diseases and diabetes, and it also really affects depression and anxiety. And those are things that we need to keep in mind. It's not just we need to eat more fruit. There are much more deeply rooted issues that are associated with obesity. Modern day technology is a huge contributing factor to the increase in obesity in the past 20 years. So hopefully we can use the next 20 years to use technology to reverse the damage that we've done. By continuing to practice in these preventative measures, hopefully in the future a lot of people will be putting $147 billion in their pocket instead of their medical bills. So.
All right. Excellent job, Mackenzie.
Thank you. And what was my time on that?
6 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh, nice. Okay. Thank you.
Great. And we have 2 left. So we will go, Aubrey will speak next, and Ashley will keep time. And yeah, so welcome to, you ready, Ashley? Awesome. So welcome to start whenever you're ready, Aubrey.
Okay. I'm Aubrey Cole, and I'm a nurse, and I chose my subject to be about heroin, so I'm going to get started now. We all suffer from various worries and pressure that goes along with living. Some of us are more capable of coping with the dark portions of life. Others are less fortunate in their ability to balance the dark with the light. So there are those that rely upon the sharp prick of a needle breaking the skin and the smooth rush of fluid into their veins. The initial effect of heroin allows for a rush of warmth and a sensation of well-being. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, 156,000 people used heroin for the first time in 2012. This number has more than doubled since 2006. This is becoming a national concern as the drug epidemic continues to climb. As these numbers continue to climb, so too do your chances of encountering this in your daily lives. It could be your next-door neighbor, your best friend, even a family member. As a nurse, I encountered drug abuse throughout my entire career. Heroin offers a fleeting escape, but the adverse effects far outweigh the positive. Today I will describe 3 ways that heroin negatively affects its users. It causes the destruction of the mind, the failing of the body, and the deterioration of relationships. Heroin immediately begins to negatively affect a user's mind. Once the initial high wears off, users will often sink into depression. Depression is difficult to escape unless the user uses heroin once again. Often heroin users are seeking that first high that they initially felt. The user's mind will become consumed with a desire to acquire more of the drug to recreate that initial high. They do this just so they can feel normal again. The Dana Foundation states that heroin when it is repeatedly abused, the drug actually changes the structure of the brain. White matter within the brain will break down, and this will affect the addict's decisions, behaviors, and responses. This is because white matter actually functions as a delivery system in the brain. This is how the brain communicates within itself. Without it, your brain cannot speak to itself. As heroin slowly eats away at the user's mind, it simultaneously deteriorates the body. Heroin continues its siege on its users by slowly causing the failure of their body and organs. According to the Caribbean Coast Recovery Center, within hours of using heroin, the body begins to crave the drug once again. Withdrawal symptoms will overcome the body. The user will often experience vomiting, diarrhea, pain, chills, and restlessness. According to research by Solis, the heroin user runs the risk of developing bloodborne illnesses if they use injection, such as HIV, AIDS, and hepatitis C. If the drug user uses inhalation to get heroin, they run the risk of perforating the tissue between their nose. Slow-healing ulcers and the infection of the heart lining and valves are also common with heroin use. As a heroin user becomes more and more afflicted by its use, their personal and professional relationships will begin to flounder. As a heroin effect causes the mental changes, the user will begin to notice changes in their relationship. Heroin users will become emotionless in their addiction as heroin consumes them and they lose sight of their relationships. Research by the Sober Media Group states that users may become more driven towards violence and crime as they seek out their next source of heroin. These mental changes that are caused by heroin cause the user to become unpredictable and dangerous to be around. This drives away potential support systems such as family and friends. Heroin is an all-consuming drug that will devour its users. Heroin will not stop its steady desecration of each individual. It will annihilate the user's mind, body, and relationships. There is only a shadow of what was once there left. Though heroin may offer a brief escape from reality, the negative effects far outweigh the positive. Heroin is a drug that comes with deadly consequences. That's it.
Wonderful job. I just saw I have an internship right now at the Columbus Public Health, and we had an all-staff meeting, and we watched a documentary last week about a family who had gone through this with her daughter, and their daughter eventually passed away. And it was very sad, very touching, so really relevant right now, unfortunately.
What was my time?
4 minutes and 44 seconds. Exactly.
Okay.
All right, awesome. Okay. Chloe, you are our last one.
Okay. I'm Chloe Reese, and I'm a music education major. There's no question that music plays a crucial role in cultures around the world, but lesser known are the various health benefits that can come from the listening and performing of music. As health trends turn to more holistic, natural remedies for common ailments, it may be helpful to the general public to recognize ways that music can cure day-to-day conditions. As a musician and music educator, I have both experienced personally and through students the health benefits of listening to music regularly. Such examples include insomnia relief, stress relief, and more. Listening to music has several positive physical and cognitive benefits and can adequately improve the quality of life for all humans. Everyday ailments including pain, insomnia, high blood pressure, stress, and depression are all treatable through the application of music. The physical benefits are perhaps the most incredible as they show measurable, tangible alterations to the human body. The first effect that music can have on the body is to ease physical pain. A study by Case Western Reserve University studied the effects of music and relaxation exercises in reducing postoperative pain. The study was conclusive and revealed that the brain releases pain-killing chemicals called opioids that come from the same family of drugs as heroin or morphine. The next physical benefit of listening to music can be to improve sleep quality. The Journal of Advanced Nursing has posted several articles and studies on the topic, and I'll cite two today. The first is from a study done in Taiwan on the sleep quality of older adults. The study concluded that listening to classical music increased the perceived sleep quality, longer sleep duration, greater sleep efficiency, shorter sleep latency, and less sleep disturbance for older adults. The same journal posted an article entitled Music Improves Sleep Quality in Students, which studied the effect of classical music on the sleep of college students. The study revealed that music reduced the sympathetic nervous system activity, decreased anxiety, and heart and respiratory rate and muscle relaxation, which resulted in higher sleep efficiency. The final physical benefit that I will discuss today is the enhanced blood vessel function. The University of Maryland Medical Center did a study on listening to joy-filled music, or music that is perceived as. The physical result was that the music causes the tissue lining of the blood vessels to dilate, increasing blood flow. Similarly, when people listened to music that was perceived as anxious, the opposite effect occurred on the blood vessels, causing them to constrict and increase the blood pressure. Related to physical benefits, the cognitive benefits of music have been increasingly prevalent in mental health therapy and have caused significant growth in the field of music therapy. The first cognitive benefit is to reduce stress. By listening to music of any kind, the brain waves slow to 8 to 4 hertz per second, which mimics the relaxed and conscious state, as studied by Stanford Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics. The cause of reducing stress is a decrease in cortisol production, similar to when you are lying horizontally or sleeping. The second cognitive benefit is increased cognitive performance. There have been many studies or kind of rumors and myths about people who play music, listen to music, performing better on tests. This has not all been conclusive in testing, but there is a very strong correlation between those who listen to music during cognitive tasks and those who participate in it having higher testing scores and academic performance. And the final cognitive benefit, the relief of symptoms of depression. All of these symptoms can be related back to enhanced blood vessel function, improved sleep quality, and easing of pain and stress. In review, the benefits of listening to music are vast, and I've only covered a few today. From physical to cognitive ailments, listening to music has the ability to reduce symptoms of prevalent health concerns. Listening to music has positive physical and cognitive benefits and can adequately improve the life of all people. So next time the stresses of life are negatively impacting your physical or mental health, reach for your headphones before your Tylenol bottle. They can help more than you think.
All right, wonderful job. I like the way you ended that speech. Cool. Well, what was her time?
4 minutes and 28 seconds.
Okay, great. Well, that concludes our session. Does anyone have questions before I let you go? Okay. I will email out this link. I'll just send it probably to your Gmail account since I have Gmail pulled up right now. But excellent job. You should feel great that you have that under your belt. And I think I'm going to end up needing to change some of your, the peer review you did on the outline. Mm-hmm. I'm changed some of those groups. I had some students either not sign up for a speech or various kinds of things. So look out for an email from me about that. Don't forget to post your outline, and I think that's about it.
When will we get these grades?
These grades you'll get, let's see, my last speeches are on Wednesday. So you'll get them within the week. I'll have to decide if I'm gonna, sometimes I wait till I have all of the students speak before I post grades, but I haven't decided if I'm gonna do that yet or not. So it might just depend on that. So, okay. All right, well, wonderful job, everyone. You should feel great about your work, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.